I affirm life in my thoughts, my words, and my actions as I care for my body and meet its needs. My faith assures me that illness is not the truth of me, nor is it my enduring reality. Through my actions, I am affirming wholeness as my true nature and encouraging my healing. Even when I am not facing illness, I greet each day by blessing my body, affirming my wholeness and ongoing activity of divine life in every organ, every cell. I give thanks for the gift of divine life by giving thanks for my healing and living joyously. He said to her, "Daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace." Luke 8:48. Thank you, Sue.
Anybody who knows me knows that I say sing along if you know it. And so that means you should put your mask on, even if you've had your shots. This is a Julie Gold song, and a lot of you may recognize this song. It's called From a Distance. And I have my friend Doug with me on mandolin. From a distance, the world looks blue and green, and the snow-capped mountains white. From a distance, the ocean meets the stream, and the eagle takes to fly. From a distance, there is harmony, and it echoes through the land. It's the voice of hope, it's the voice of peace, it's the voice of everyone. From a distance, we all have enough, and no one is in need. There are no guns, no bombs, no disease, no hungry mouths to feed. From a distance, we are instruments, marching in a common band, playing songs of hope, playing songs of peace. They're the songs of everyone. God is watching us. God is watching us. God is watching us from a distance. God is watching us. God is watching us. God is watching us from a distance.
Okay. Just stay on the screen and Sunday message.
But then how do I go back through? Because right now, okay, I see.
From a distance, you look like my friend.
So what I did was
even though we are
to get to the other screen.
Yeah, okay.
So that's what you want to do that.
What all this fight
but you don't have to do any sharing.
Okay.
From a distance, there is harmony, and it echoes through the land. It's the hope of hopes, it's the love of love, it's the heart of everyone. God is watching us, God is watching us, God is watching us from a distance. God is watching us, God is watching us, God is watching us from a distance.
Fabulous. Oh, wow. Thank you, Julie. Thank you, Doug. Oh, wow. Thank you. Thank you. So it's the middle of the night. It's pitch black dark. And a burglar breaks into a house. Of course, he's very quiet and stealthy, and he has this flashlight. He's going around and looking at things, and he hears a voice, and the voice says, "Jesus is watching you." And he freezes, and he turns off the light, and he just stands there. He doesn't hear anything else. So waits a few minutes and turns on his light, and he starts again looking around the room and looking at things, and he hears the voice again, "Jesus is watching you." And he turns off the light. And he does this a third time, and he hears, "Jesus is watching you." And he takes the light and he looks around and he goes over and he finally, the area it's coming from is over in the corner, and it's the cage of a parrot. And he said, "Who are you?" And the parrot says, "Moses." And the burglar said, "Well, who would name a parrot Moses?" And the parrot said, "The same people that named the Rottweiler Jesus." I figured we need a giggle because we're dealing with conflict today. This is everybody's favorite topic, right? I don't think there are very many people that like dealing with conflict. I don't think anybody says, "Whoopee, let's just get into this. Let's just do this." I don't think that's the case. I think most of us would prefer to never have to deal with it. We don't want to deal with conflict. But you know, that's just not realistic, is it? No matter who we are, we're going to run into situations where we are not in accord with someone else. And it doesn't matter whether it's in your home life or your work life or where you volunteer or whatever, you're going to run into some conflict somewhere, sometime. It's just a fact of life. One of my good friends named Judy is a person who facilitates a group for people that have a particular learning disability, and it's called nonverbal learning disability or nonverbal learning disorder. And she's been doing this for a few years, and she's really feels like she's made a contribution, and the group has grown not only in numbers, but in their abilities to express and to share with one another. And of course, any group to run well has to have, guidelines, no cross talking, and speak, one at a time, and speak kindly, and all of those things that help create a safe environment for people to share what's on their mind. But the thing that happened the day before I talked to her was that one member of the group somehow got very heated about something, and it was very uncomfortable for everybody else. He had no clue that people were upset. And some people got up to leave. Well, they didn't leave forever, but they needed to go apart and kind of take a few deep breaths and kind of settle down and sort of at least try to process what was going on. And we were talking about this, Judy and I, and she said, it's the first time it's happened in years, but it's never easy. It doesn't matter what group you're with or in, it's never easy. It's just a fact of life. And because it is, we need to know how to deal with it. Sometimes with conflict, what winds up happening is that people just shut down. And I will have to tell you, for years, that was my way of dealing with conflict, just shut down. I grew up in a very volatile family, certainly not very healthy. I don't think we were any less healthy than anybody else on the block, but it's the idea that what was modeled were all the things that didn't work for dealing with conflict. All the things like yelling and pointing fingers and blaming and all of that stuff. All of that stuff was going on, and none of it really ever helped with the conflict.
Just sort of escalated. And then what happens is that sometimes we deal with conflict by lashing out. That was a big one in our household, lashing out at another. In extreme cases, it comes to revenge, and or getting even, at least getting even, right? And when you're even, you're always just a little better, just a little bit better. It's not exactly even, just a little bit better. Yeah. So I was thinking about conflict and wondering to myself, what are some of the factors that get in the way of our ability to be more effective in dealing with conflict? And these are three that came to mind. Now, these are not cast in bronze. These are three that came to mind. Okay. The first one is we just don't know how. We just don't know how. Nobody taught us as children. All we saw were the things that didn't work. And when I sent out the notice about what the topic was going to be, someone phoned in and said, please tell Reverend Mary to remind people that there is a National Conflict Resolution Center that actually offers free programs, free educational resources to help people become more skillful in dealing with conflict. So that brings me to my first point, back to the first point, and that is everything that we saw and learned for many of us, I'm not saying everyone, but for many of us, was not healthy or helpful. And most of the time we handled things by just sweeping things under the carpet. The second thing that I thought of is that sometimes I think we would just rather not bother. Well, let's be honest, conflict is messy. There's nothing sweet and light about conflict. And if we can avoid it, wouldn't we rather? There used to be a commercial, I can't remember what the product was, but I'd rather fight than switch. No, in my case, I would just rather go along with it. You know, just don't ruffle the feathers, don't make it any worse than it is. And have you noticed that it never happens when you can really deal with it? Like you can't schedule it. You can't say, well, you know, Thursday morning at 10 o'clock is when I'm going to deal with conflict from 10 to 10:30. All right, from 10 to 11. But still, you can't schedule it. You got to deal with it when it happens. And when we don't, what happens? To me, it's like any wound that is not properly tended to just continues to fester and get worse and worse. And I think it just goes that way until it erupts. And then it's, again, not a good way of dealing with it. The third thing that I think happens is that we may have real issues with admitting that we were wrong. Not me, I don't do that, but you know, I've heard that it has been done. You know, we may have a hard time saying, I'm my part, yeah, I was wrong in what I did or didn't do. I was wrong about that. And I want to heal that. I want to change that. Or to say, I made a big mistake. I mishandled that. I'm really sorry. So quickly, those are the three reasons that I think we get into trouble with conflict is that we don't know how, we'd rather not bother, and we have issues with being wrong. And what I know about that is that that is coming from a place that is less than willing to try to understand the other, to try to clear the conflict. There's a direct relationship between willingness and the efficacy in dealing with conflict. And if we have the willingness, there are fewer conflicts to deal with. Tom Crum, isn't that a fun name? Is a guy who specializes in conflict. He's written many books about it, and I did some pretty deep studying of his material. And one of the things that he says that helps is when we can let go of our viewpoint and change our viewing point. So a viewpoint is usually our opinion, right? And we can get really stuck and dug in on our opinion. But if we will allow ourselves to move to a different viewing point, we at least are willing to look at the other person's perspective, the other person's point of view. Now, we may go back to ours and say, nope, mine is still the better one, but at least we have seen another person's perspective, another person's view. And I think that changing our viewing point is one of the quickest ways to help us move through conflict. And like I say, we could still go back to our own way of thinking, but at least you've taken the opportunity to try to see another point of view. I think one of the greatest things about our teacher, our master teacher and our way shower, Jesus, is that he taught us how to deal with life. And that's really what this whole series has been about. How do we deal with life, the stuff of life? And if we read the Gospels and we try to understand not the religion about Jesus, because that's not who we are as spiritual seekers, but rather what Jesus said, what he taught, what he modeled, then I think we have a better opportunity to live fuller, happier lives. And here are some of the things that have been attributed to Jesus in the Gospels, and I think they help us with conflict. The first, now I'm summarizing Jesus' words, okay? We'll hear his words in a minute, but this is my summary of his words. We have to keep it clean and go direct. If you're taking notes, that's the note. Keep it clean and go direct. In Matthew 5:23, it's recorded that Jesus said, "Therefore, if you're offering your gift at the altar and there remember that your brother has something against you, leave your gift there in front of the altar. First, go and be reconciled with your brother, and then come and give your gift." Now, this is a big deal. Picture this. Giving your gift, your tithe, this was a Mosaic law. This isn't something you can, well, maybe I will and maybe I won't. It wasn't an opportunity, an option that was offered. It was a law. You do this. And what Jesus is saying, if it's your turn, you get up to you're in the temple or the synagogue or wherever, and you're getting ready to give your gift. If you know in your gut that something is out of harmony with someone, it doesn't have to be your blood kin. You need to go and reconcile with that person first. He is saying keeping our relationships clear, clean is more important than giving your gift. That was huge. That was a huge thing. And then he doesn't say that when you do this, everything's going to be hunky-dory. Everybody's going to be happy and we're going to hug each other and we're all going to be great. He never says that. But he says you have a responsibility to take care of your part. You have a responsibility to take care of your part. Stop everything else that you're doing and go and take care of that first. Now, I think a few of you might agree with me that it's easier to give your gift than it is to go and make nice, right? But oftentimes what happens is we don't keep it clean. We don't go direct. We go sideways. Going sideways. That looks like the conversation that happens after the meeting. It's the conversation at the water cooler or the coffee station or in the parking lot. Those are the conversations that go on, and those are called going sideways or triangulation. And what happens with that is that whatever the it is that is in your craw that you can't get out. I can't go to Susan, but I can go to Beth. And I can tell Beth, and Beth is pretty intuitive, and I will bet you she will go and try to clear this with Susan for me. If you didn't hear it, she said, I don't think so. Perfect. That's exactly right. So instead of going direct, sometimes we go to somebody else and we figure they'll do the talking for us and they'll figure it all out. They'll straighten it all out for us. But we can't go and vent to somebody else. Not that we don't ever do that, but you can't do that instead of clearing with the person or the issue. You have to do that, go direct and clear. Jesus is telling us very clearly, very, very clearly, when you know there's something going on between you and another, you got to stop what you're doing, recognize the importance of doing your very best to clean it up. You may not be successful. In fact, the person may not want to hear you, may not want to see you, may not want to talk to you, and may actually get more angry with you. But that does not negate our responsibility to do our piece of it, our part of it. We need to go direct. So I am 100% responsible for my 50% of the relationship. I'm 100% responsible for my 50% of the relationship, just as you are 100% responsible for your 50% of the relationship. I love you. I love you. You're such a good straight man. Thank you. Elsewhere, Jesus talked about something, and I would say this is the essence of what he was saying. Settle matters quickly. Settle matters quickly. In Matthew 5:25, Jesus says, settle matters quickly with your adversary who is taking you to court. Do what you can while you are still with him on the way, or he may hand you over to the judge may hand you over to the officer, and you may get thrown into prison. I tell you the truth, you will not get out until you have paid the last penny. Now, you might be thinking, well, that's for really serious stuff, court stuff. My issue with my family has nothing, it's not that big a deal. Or my issue at my job is just, it's irritating. It's not that big a deal. Well, that's not what Jesus is saying. He's saying, settle it quickly. Otherwise, it gets worse and worse. So I was reminded of, I just can't help myself. Would you go in my room on the bottom shelf of my bookcase to the right, next to the scriptures, next to all the Bibles, is a book called Gospel Light. It has, I think, blue writing on it. It's by George Lomsa. So I just asked Mark to go get this book because I want to read to you something very important from it. If he doesn't find it, I'll read it out of my notes. Nevertheless, settle matters quickly. And so this teacher, he was one of our teachers in seminary, and we were very, very fortunate to have him. He is a Middle Eastern man. He speaks fluent Aramaic, reads it fluently, and he interprets the Bible culturally. So he can interpret for us things that the people in Jesus' day understood without question. They didn't have to raise their hand and say, what do you mean? They got it, they knew. But the way that we would read it, we don't get it in the same way. So he reads, if you can't find it, don't bother. Okay, he's still looking. Okay, all right. He'll find it when I'm done, right? Okay. But it's from a really good book. The book is called Gospel Light by George Lomsa. So I'm going to read this to you. It's a little lengthy, but it has a very good definition. In olden times, prophets and men of God were the arbitrators, the peacemakers, and the judges who looked after the political and the spiritual welfare of the people. Even today, in many areas of the Middle East, the disputants travel for 2 or 3 or more days in search of justice. In many instances, the parties concerned travel together, stop at the same inns, eat, and converse during the journey. They may have fought and perhaps even wounded each other, but on the long journey to the place of justice, they have to be friendly. They might meet bandits on the road who would rob and kill them, so they have to protect and fight for each other. Often, a wearisome and tiresome journey, their troubles and differences would be forgotten. That's it, would be forgotten. So in place, they would have friendly conversations in place of hatred. Gracious words were shared. Thank you, darling. It's green, not blue. I apologize. This is the book, and if anybody wants to borrow it, it's an old book, but it is really, really full of interesting things. Often, while they were on the road, many had been enemies for months, suddenly become friends. They talk over their differences and suggest remedies between themselves. If, however, neither of the two men on such a journey was willing to yield a point, both would have to face the judge, and the experience could be very discomforting. Oriental judges generally have few cases during the year, and as their support is derived from the plaintiffs, they are like spiders, patiently waiting for their victims to fall into the web. A trifling affair, and here's where it gets personal and real, is made into a big case requiring months and years to settle. In the East, justice is often executed not according to guilt, but to wealth. This is sounding very familiar today, doesn't it? If both disputants are poor, the case is promptly dismissed with few rebukes. But if they happen to have any money or other wealth, the case may never be settled until the last cent is gone and the property is sold. So when Jesus is making this point with his students and his adversaries, he's saying, if you don't deal with this and you just let it go on, it's going to get worse and worse and worse. And that's the truth. Now, I know many people of my generation, maybe possibly of yours too, were kind of raised with the idea that we don't deal with conflict directly. We want to avoid conflict at all costs. We don't talk about it. When things get difficult, you just kind of, you molly, you make nice. You don't want to have anything upset. It's so unhealthy because then, you just sweep it under the rug and hope it doesn't pile up too much. When we don't deal with issues, and we know this, we've all experienced this, when we don't deal with issues, it's like a wound that festers, like I said before. And that's why Jesus says to deal with conflict, the thing is to settle the matters quickly. Now, a third piece that Jesus addresses is the importance of speaking your piece. It's important to speak your piece. Do speak your ideas, do share your ideas, but don't force your way. In Matthew 10, 14 and 15, Jesus said, if anyone will not receive you or listen to your words or heed your words, shake the dust from your feet when you leave that house or town. Shake the dust from your feet and move on. So these are the instructions that Jesus was giving to his disciples. He sent them out 2 by 2 so that they could support each other. And it was go forth and share the teachings that I have taught you. Go forth and tell others about the miracles that you have witnessed. And if they don't get you, if they have a really strong opinion other than you, don't dig in. Don't dig your feet in. Instead, shake the dust from your shoes and move on. What a nice way of saying, if people don't understand what you're saying, you don't have to defend it to the death. You've spoken your piece. You've given them a seed of thought about something else. You're not responsible for watering it and making it grow. You can't do the work for them. So it's the idea that what we want to do is to be able to speak to one another with a willingness to listen. We want to be able to share our point of view, but equally important is to listen and understand the point of view of another. Can you imagine the kind of world we would co-create if we really practiced that in everything? I mean, just think of the family dynamics that would change. Think of how healthy our children would be, how spiritually, morally, I don't know even have the right word to say it. There would be a maturity in them that they could deal with very complex issues that we have in the world if they were able to sit and listen to the other's point of view. And in my thinking, I think our world is only going to get more complex. I'm so grateful for the BLM movement, the Black Lives Matter movement, and the attention that is given to Asian Americans who've been horribly attacked lately. But as we become more conscious, and that is true, we are collectively, we are waking up. Collectively, we are waking up, we are taking more personal responsibility, and we are recognizing that all lives matter, everyone is important, and every viewpoint is important. Do I agree with that 100%? No, I do not. But I understand where you're coming from. I get what you're feeling. Let me have some time to let this percolate. Let me have some time to begin to understand this more fully myself. And I think that our diversity is only going to get better and better. And I think that the last point I want to make about Jesus' teachings is that he didn't say it so much as he modeled it, was the benefit of giving people a second chance. Many of you listened to the message 2 weeks ago that I gave about the scribes and the Pharisees coming to Jesus. They were trying to trip him up. They were trying to trap him into making a mistake. And they said, "Teacher, the law of Moses said that a woman caught in adultery should be stoned. What do you say?" And you remember he bent down and he was doodling in the dust. I always wonder, was he playing tic-tac-toe with himself? Was he writing something profound? Was he drawing a picture? I don't know about that, but he didn't speak immediately, but they kept pushing him. And finally, he stood and said that most important line, "Let the one who is without sin cast the first stone." And if you remember in the story, everybody kind of slunk away. It got real quiet, you know? And Jesus says to the woman, "Woman, where are your accusers?" And she's looking around and she says, "I have none." And Jesus said, "And neither do I accuse you." And then he says this line that's so important and so misunderstood. He says, "Go and sin no more." Now, here's the part that's misunderstood. Sin is not what most of us think it is. We think sin is doing something evil, being bad things. Sin comes from the archery term, which means missing the mark. How often in the day do you miss the bullseye of what it is you're trying to accomplish? I'm not going to tell you how many for me, but it's more than 2. He says to her, "Look, your lifestyle is going to come back and give you a lot of grief down the road if you don't clean it up. You have missed the mark in these areas of your life. Can you aim a little higher? Can you practice a little more? Can you get closer to the mark, to what it is you want in your life?" He says, "Go and sin no more." He's not saying you're a total mess up. Your mistakes have just about cost you your life. Instead, he says, go and do better. He's giving her a second chance. Think about God. God gives thousands and billions of chances. There is a true story. This is real. There is an area in South Africa in the tribe. I'm going to mess it up, but I'm going to try to do it right. Babimba tribe that practice what we could learn a lot about in giving people second chances. So this is a very small, close-knit community. And when someone in the community does something wrong, unjust, whatever, unsavory, whatever, the community gathers and they put the person in the middle. Now, instead of everybody shaking their finger and telling them what he does wrong, they spend a long time telling this person all the things they've done right, all the good things they have done in their life, how well they have managed this, what they've done for others. They emphasize Yes, you made a mistake, but this is not all of you. This is the bigger part of you, all the good that they have accomplished in their lives. Can you imagine what our justice system would be like if instead of telling somebody, oh, you got caught with 2 joints of marijuana, you're busted. That's the can for you. We're throwing away the key. No, no, no. We say, yeah, you did that. And look at all these other things you've done. You've done this, you've done that, you've walked for charities, you've done, it would give us such a much more balanced way of living our lives. A few years ago at one of the Gabrielson reunions, one of the nieces had been fortunate enough to study abroad during her, I think it was her senior year. Anyways, she went to Norway, which in some ways is kind of crazy because it's a Norwegian family and sending your kid to Norway. But anyway, she went to Norway, and there are several different cultures within Norway, and she studied many of these different cultures. And from time to time, she would bring up something about this is the way they did that, or this is the way they did this. And, sometimes I think the relatives were like, yeah, you're preaching to the choir, shut up, but what she shared about their criminal justice system reminds me very much of this group in South Africa, this tribe, in that the way that they deal with people is they acknowledge the wrong, the mistake, but they spend more time on building the person up. They have opportunities for healing if they have substance abuse. They have opportunities for healing in other ways. So if they have committed a wrong against someone, their opportunity is community service, doing something that promotes the right in that area, not necessarily with that person, but in that area. So I think the importance for us is that in our families, in our spiritual families, our spiritual communities, certainly within our communities everywhere, the importance of giving people a second chance. If we could just make that commitment, make it to ourselves, make it to someone you trust, someone that will help you hold yourself accountable. If we could make the commitment of dealing with people's shortcomings and mistakes, spending more time reminding them of the good that is within them, the good things they have done, all the ways they have persevered, all the overcomings they have made, all the good stuff. I really pray that we can give people a second chance. That's my prayer. That is my hope. And regardless of who it is, including those people that really get under your skin, change your viewing point and give them a second chance. Namaste. Namaste. We're going to have our meditation time. And so I ask that you become comfortable where you are. And let's center by taking a few wiggles in our bodies out, move a little bit if you need to, and begin by taking a few deep breaths. As we take those deep breaths, we are settling into our body. We have chosen this very moment to focus intently on the silent, still power and presence that is within each of us. And as we begin, we recognize that all the power and presence of God that has ever been is now where we are. And in our breath, we recognize the power and presence of God. I'm in the presence and the radiating power of peace here and now. In a state of peace, I recognize that no condition can cause me unrest. Peace is in my breath, flowing in my mind, throbbing in my heart, I am at peace. I'm in the presence and radiating power of prosperity here and now. The good I seek is the good that God is so in this moment. And I choose thoughts of gratitude, and I am opened for good, and I'm a giver of good, and I go forth flowing in fulfillment. I'm in the presence and radiating power of wisdom here and now. May I see, hear, and sense all that I need to know for the moment. The moments ahead, the moment of this moment, and flowing from the infinite, universal divine wisdom, I discern and decide in trust. Steady in the presence and the power of God, what God is, who God is, and I am. I am expressing the unifying power of divine love. I uphold the whole world and every being in it with a steady mind and a ready heart, centered in peace. I am the radiating love of God. On earth as it is in heaven. And as we return our awareness to this environment around us, I'm going to speak the words of the prayer for protection. The first part you are most familiar with. You do not need to speak it, but I invite you to listen closely to the second part of the prayer that's nearly, almost never written or spoken, even though it is all part of the same prayer by James Dillett Freeman. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us, and the presence of God watches over us. The mind of God guides us. The life of God flows through us. The laws of God direct us. The power of God abides within us. The joy of God uplifts us. The strength of God renews us. The beauty of God inspires us. And wherever we are, God is. And so it is. Amen. I always like the second part of the prayer because for me, the first part feels like it's always God up there or out there. And so the second part of the prayer speaks to the God within us. And I find that most meaningful. So this is the time in the celebration when we prepare our gifts, our supporting gifts, tithes, and offerings. If you'll take the gift that you wish to give and hold it in your hands, we will bless them together. We don't pass a basket, but someone will come to you with the basket. There is no lack or limitation. Freely I give, and freely I receive from God's abundance. I am blessed as I give, and unity is blessed in receiving.
Bill Staines wrote this next song called Bridges, which seems what you're talking about we could do for viewing from a different side and finding a way to reduce conflict. There are bridges, bridges in the sky. They are shining in the sun. They are stone and steel and wood and wire. They can change two things to one. They are languages and letters. They are poetry and awe. They are love and understanding. They are better than a wall. They are languages and letters. They are poetry and all. They are love and understanding. They are better than a wall. There are canyons, there are canyons. They are yawning in the night. They are rank with bitter anger. They are all devoid of light. They are fear and blind suspicion. They are apathy and pride. They are dark and so foreboding. They are oh so very wide. They are fear and blind suspicion. They are apathy and pride. They are dark and so foreboding. They are oh so very wide. Let us build a bridge of music. Let us cross it with a song. Let us span another canyon. Let us right another wrong. Oh, and if someone should ask us where we're often bound today, we will tell them building bridges and be off and on our way. Oh, and if someone should ask us where we're off and bound today, we will tell them building bridges and be off and on our way.
Great, great song. Thank you. Great choice for today. Yeah. So we'd like to prepare for our announcements, which is everybody's favorite part of the service. But before I do that, I want to invite anyone who has a birthday or an anniversary or a special day to commemorate to come up in front, please. Oh, Jenny's standing. Okay, okay. Okay. So it's are we all birthdays or are we celebrating? No. Birthday, anniversary. Yeah. Okay. What's your anniversary number? June 1st, 29 years. June 11th, 4 years. Okay. I like the 29-year one. Yeah. Yeah. But absolutely. And your is the birthday on the 1st and yours is? Oh, it's still anniversary. Oh, yeah, we did celebrate yours in May. Okay, well, you can celebrate twice. Okay, so it's not birthday, it's special day. Okay, happy special day. All right. Okay, we can do this. Happy special day to you. Happy special day to you. Happy special day, dear friends. Happy special day to you. God is blessing you now. God is blessing you now. God is blessing you. You're wonderful. God is blessing you now. Yay! Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, and many more. Absolutely. Those are the best kinds of things, aren't they? Okay, for announcements. Midweek meditation continues. We change on Wednesdays. And so we run the same one for a week, but you can tune in anytime that you would like to do the meditation. And we have different people. Primarily, it's Kevin and I right now, but we do have occasionally guest meditators, leaders, meditation leaders. So if you don't have time to do a meditation during the daytime, please, at least at 12 noon, pause for like 2 minutes. Take that 2 minutes to bless yourself first, then to bless our community, to bless the greater community, our state, etc. The more that we bless, the more that peace increases, the more that healing increases. So it's really, really important to do that. And if you forget at noon, try to bookend your prayer time morning and evening with blessing. The minister's book study continues. The book is Cast. It's a very well written book, and it's kind of exhausting in a way. But anyway, it's a great book. It's from 9:15 to 10:45. It is on Zoom. So if you're interested in joining, you need to make sure I have your email address so we can get you invited into the Zoom class. The Silent Unity Prayer Service follows book study at 11 o'clock on Thursday. If you're not able to tune in, please give us your prayer request ahead of time. You can call and leave it with me or fill out a prayer request card up here at the prayer box. Course in Miracles meets every Sunday at 11:45 following fellowship. The course is facilitated by Joanne Bauman, and it's a wonderful opportunity to focus on principles of universal love and forgiveness. Love in Action is back in the process. We didn't have it for a long time, but we're instituting Love in Action again to help us with our centennial celebration that comes up in October. So if you wish to give a gift beyond your regular tithe or offering, use the envelopes that have the red writing on them instead of the blue. Thank you. And Wondra is looking to start up some new groups, a women's writing group, and also coaching circles. She does that too. So if you're interested, please give her a call directly. If you don't have time to write down the number, you can call me and I can get it for you, or it is in the e-blast that you can go back to online. Dr. VJ returns the last weekend in July, and it will begin on the Saturday of that weekend. And that Saturday, we start at 5 o'clock with a meal, and then his teaching begins about 6:30. Everything for the weekend is free. We're going to have music. Kevin's going to be here. Julie's going to be here. It's his teaching is wonderful. He teaches on the topic of oneness, and he will resume his teaching on Sunday after fellowship. That'll start about 12 noon. So we really look forward to having everyone. Anybody can come. You can invite friends from the outside that have nothing to do with unity. We welcome everyone to be here. Before we do our America the Beautiful, real quickly, two things. One is we have a lovely garden going on outside, but because we've had so little rain, we are needing to water daily. I am hoping that some people can give 2 hours one day a week to water. It takes about 2 hours to do the whole of this side and the whole of the 73rd Street side. So if you can, please see me, or you can see Sid. Sid, stand up and wave your hand. He didn't stand, but there he is. Okay. He's here Monday through Friday. And so anyone that can give 2 hours for one day a week, we would be really thrilled to have that. Um, Also, we do have a couple of people who have donated special plantings in the garden, and they're getting plaques made in honor or in memory of whomever. So if you would like to do that, pick a bush that fulfills your vision. We would love to have you do that. The cost of doing that, adopting a plant and getting your plaque made, is $50, and that money goes into our Centennial Celebration Fund. Okay, now we're going to sing. Sing. So Stan, put your mask on, and Julie and Doug are going to lead us.
Oh, beautiful, compassionate shores where dreams and hopes are born, where kindness and civility can weather any storm. America, America, God heal this great divide. Let fear release, rekindle peace till all our hearts unite. You and me from sea to shining sea. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as creator, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow, to take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
Let us now speak the prayer for protection. Oops. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and so it is. And so it is. So welcome back to church. We're welcoming everyone to come back to church. We do have coffee and tea and wrapped goodies. If you're interested in bringing something to share, we ask that it be individually wrapped. And thanks. And we look forward to seeing you here. All right, go forth. I'm not going to say go forth and multiply, but go forth, multiply from the standpoint of bringing your friends back. Thank you. I got that caught. You want to reach down my back and take my thing off?
Okay.
So hot and sweaty. I'm sorry. You have to open it up to get the turn it off. Doing well. How are you?
Yeah, you get a job?
What?
Get a job?
have a job.
He's doing the same job, just not as much of it.
Not, yeah,
Oh,
I just got reduced hours.
Oh, okay.
It's, it was easier than
I'll do. Let me show you. Okay, so
more
just,
than one moving part.
just on the
No,
side.
if I would have had to go find out, then it wouldn't have it.